are you single?
Well, I have a relationship, I have a girlfriend, but, you know, it's open on my end.
So, how does a man get a woman to commit to him while he's still pursuing other women?
And obviously I take care of her as well. I think that's very important. You know, you have your masculine burden and performance, and you have to be that guy where you're that dude, you know what I mean? You got to take care of her and fulfill her in all different types of ways. Financially, emotionally, be her leader, etc.
I think it's a travesty that you have to pay a woman and provide for her in order to get that. You're no different from the man who doesn't get that. Mm-hmm. Like, if you got to pay a woman to do something, she's not doing it because you're that guy.
And you have to be that guy where you're that dude.
Tell us the truth!
Every time you simp, you're really saying, I'm not good enough for a woman, even though I was made perfect and good enough for God, and that's not good enough because it's not good enough for her. How profound is that?
Absolutely profound, dog. Let's go the word the way it's written. God created man. Man was dominating shit. God said, you know what? Let me give man a gift. First, he has no mate like everyone else. Then he's got a lot of work to do. Let's get him a helpmeet. At no point does it say that a woman should be pedestalized or she should be praised or she should be put on the level of a queen or she's an equal or any of those things. She can be great at her career, but a career woman who has $1 million in the bank but has no man, no kids is a failure. Vivica A. Fox is a failure. She's 60-something years old. No man, no kids, too old to have kids. Now, if you're in your 30s, there's an opportunity for you not to be a complete failure. But if you're 60-something and you ain't got no kids, like your body was designed to be able to nurture an unborn person until it's mature enough to function in the world. And you've been had that body all this time. You never managed to accomplish that shit once. It's crazy, bro. Women have never known what they want or even what they like. Like, it changes with the weather. Literally, you are never going to meet a woman who's been with multiple men and they all look exactly the same, ever. You know, you find a woman, she's been with a white guy, she's been with a black guy, she's been with a Hispanic guy. She has no preference. She's been with a tall guy, she's been with a short guy, she's been with a overweight guy. She has no preference. She's been with a rich guy, educated guy who ain't got no money, and a guy from the gutter who's a hustler, already been to prison once. She has no preference, which means she has no standard. So how can you allow someone who has no standard to be the standard bearer for how you view yourself? It's simply because there are men who say, no one taught me this shit, so I'm gonna take advantage of y'all. I ain't gonna teach y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all what the real deal is out here, bro. When I was growing up, men shared their wealth of knowledge because they cared about young men and how they developed. At a certain point, there was a generation that said, yes, the generation behind us, we're responsible for how they turn out. But them. Mm-hmm. And it's been downhill ever since. Our boy Myron Gaines, man. We got a clip of Myron Gaines.
Speaking of which, I did his show. You were smart enough not to.
Yeah, man. Listen.
Wouldn't look me in the eyes, man, because I'm not a famous manosphere guy. I didn't fit the criteria.
Yo, man, that shit is crazy, bro.
Just keeping it a buck.
Yeah, but I mean, you know.
Fresh was cool to me, though.
Yeah. Hey, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. Fresh has cool energy, man. I mean, he just figured out he could try to be someone he wasn't because he has some fame and notoriety. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think if I had to talk to one of those guys, it would be Fresh.
Age?
34.
And are you single?
Well, I have a relationship, I have a girlfriend, but, you know, it's open on my end.
So, how does a man get a woman to commit to him while he's still pursuing other women?
It's not easy. Number one, you got to be on point. You got to have your money on point. You got to have your frame on point. You obviously have to be honest up front. I was up front with my girl. I told her, look, I'm not going to be monogamous. I don't believe in monogamy. I think it's a lie. It's a scam. Most guys that get involved in it, you know, always end up regressing, going back to being polygamous, whether they do it overtly or covertly. And I was just very honest up front. And obviously I take care of her as well. I think that's very important. You know, you have your masculine burden and performance, and you have to be that guy where you're that dude, you know what I mean? You got to take care of her and fulfill her in all different types of ways. Financially, emotionally, be her leader, etc.
But you're in your 30s now.
Yeah.
At what point in your life did you discover that monogamy wasn't for you?
Man, I've noticed this in my 20s, since being in college, but actually saying, all right, I'm gonna like go into this and like exercise that polygamy like within a relationship. I didn't really do it until my 30s because I understood that for you to be able to pull this off, you have to have your stuff together. You can't be a bum, can't be a loser saying, oh, I want to have multiple girls. She's gonna look at you crazy. So if you're gonna go ahead and get that perk, because it is a perk, it's a privilege, you need to earn it. You need to earn it by being that dude.
You know, man, guys still perpetuate this idea that in order for you to have a woman who's willing to love your dirty drawers, which is pretty much what this is, she's gonna be with you regardless of how you live your life because she just enjoys being with you. Now, it may be long-term or short-term. But if you do it that way, where you pay the woman and take care of her and all of that, that has nothing to do with getting a woman to acquiesce to your demands. If you're a man who feels like you have to pay a woman and provide for her in order to get that, you're no different from the man who doesn't get that. Like, if you got to pay a woman to do something, she's not doing it because you're that guy. So you can't put, I got to pay her and take care of her and do all of this in the same sentence with, well, you just got to be that guy. That's not what being that guy is. Being that guy is you don't have to do any of that extra shit. And if you got to pay a woman to stay with you for you to be who you are, you got to ask yourself, like, how strong is that relationship? Like, is this something to be in public talking about?
The basics of it aren't bad. You got to be a productive man in most circumstances, to be able to acquire women because it's attractive to them. But also, the deal, it reaps of a guy that never had enough game to get a chick when he was broke, which most of us did. Pull women when we were broke and then got money, and it just was a different experience. Not even like now I can get women because I got a little money to my name.
Right.
Probably the whole key difference that separates the manosphere from real life players, honestly.
And I'm just going to be honest with you, brother. If you only can get girls once you get money, you really don't know what women are capable of because they're always putting on a front for you so they can impress you, so they can have access to the resources. You got to have had access to women when you were in the gutter to see how they really get down. Yeah, we see examples and all of that, but if it don't hit close home to you, a lot of guys have been with girls, they thought the girl loved them and found out the girl's somebody else. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what women are capable of, dog. That's nothing. And I just think, man, it's tough for me to recommend that you listen to guys who never dealt with women before they got successful to get advice about how to deal with women, because that guy's speaking from perspective of the type of women you get when you're successful. Well, if you're not successful yet, sometimes you can't afford to be in the places that those types of women are. There's a way you handle all women that works for those women. But the way you handle those women doesn't necessarily work for women who are on a different level, man. It doesn't necessarily work. And I just don't think a guy who really believes that he can only get the interaction he gets from women if he pays and takes care of her, it's hard for me to believe that he really believes he could pull that shit off. Because the money just gives you the front and flash. Pimps had money. You couldn't get no hoes if you didn't have no money. You had to have front and flash. You pulled up in a nice whip. You jump out in the nice gear. You got your jewels on. You got the jewels and tools to make a broad break all the rules. But that don't mean she get no access to the money. They turn around and put the woman on the street. She bring the money. So it's up to the line of, okay, you got to be this. Okay, but when you are this, are you man enough to say, okay, baby, I'm the man. This shit gonna run the way I want to run it. And this is just how it's gonna be. It's my will, no way, and no way is okay. Are you gonna be like, well, okay, well, I mean, you should just accept me for the way I am. I pay all the bills. It's a different scenario for me, dog, because I'm not paying all the bills for no woman.
What do you think about what he was saying about monogamy, though? About it just not being for the productive man of status and money and things of that nature?
Bro, it's not for any man. Even a man who doesn't have money and status, he got a girl at home, but he still beat off the porn. It's the same thing. He's fantasizing about the woman he can't get, but if he could get her, he'd have her. You know what I mean? Like, we're just not wired to have one woman long term. And I'm not saying we're wired to be just freaking off with every woman we see either. It was designed for a man to have multiple wives if he can afford to have multiple wives. Mm-hmm. Because with multiple wives come a smorgasbord of children as well, if we're talking about tradition, right? If you're in a position to do it, dog, it doesn't make sense to have one woman, because the reality is women don't work to improve themselves enough to ever be the one. As men, we work our asses off to improve ourselves in every way, not for the broad, but we work our asses off to improve ourselves in every way. So when a woman meets a man, he's more likely to be the complete package than a woman ever will be, because she never has to be the complete package, especially if she's beautiful. The more beautiful she is, she really don't have to have nothing else going on besides beauty. She ain't got to be the sweetest girl around as long as she's just not an obnoxious bitch. And I'm going to be honest with you. If she's drop dead gorgeous, she can be as obnoxious as she wants to, and she's always going to have options. They don't have to improve themselves. We do. So monogamy is a man saying, you know what? I'm just going to compromise and do without the things that I would have if I had the women around me that I wanted, and I'm going to let you just give me what you have. And eventually, that's why sex wanes in marriage, because 9 times out of 10, the first woman you're willing to marry is not the woman that you're the most aroused by. As a man, you still got to have that woman you're aroused by. That's why side chicks come up. And I think if women were more realistic about their true value, they'd understand the necessity of inviting a sister wife into their marriage. They would need to do it if they were honest about their value or lack thereof.
When we're talking about money and what it allows you to do as a man, and then roping monogamy into the conversation like Myron was talking about, is a lot of cats can only have 2 wives if they got a hell of a lot of money. But also, there's cats that could pull that off with no money, just with a certain amount of charm and game. So where does that leave us? We all know the dude that could have 2, 3 girlfriends and be in the gutter. It has nothing to do with money. So like, where's that leave the comparison? I don't even know.
Man, that's why I always say you got to apply pimp principles. It's not about being a pimp. It's about understanding your value and having demands of a woman. There ain't a pimp in the world with 100 girls. There's millions of women, but there ain't a pimp in the world with 100 girls. A strong pimp got 10. Out of all the girls in his city that's available to him, he's only got 10, and he's a strong P. And the reason is, if you stand on principles and don't compromise, a lot of women are going to be eliminated from even possibly being with you. But if a man doesn't compromise, you'll see that you can always come across 2 or 3 women who are perfectly fine with just being with you because they like being with you. And women respect that honesty more than anything. The major thing that helps a pimp is that a woman understands that she's not going to be the only woman. He's got a stable of women. Most times a pimp already has women when he adds a woman. And so she knows. And here's the thing, bro. The guy you're mentioning who doesn't have to pay anything, he's the base level guy. Now take him and then look at the guy who not only doesn't have to pay anything, but he's got multiple girls who give him money.
Whole nother level.
That's a whole nother level, dog. And so for me, I believe as men, we focus on the guys who get the best results. You understand? I'm quite sure you get lifting and fitness questions all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when people look at you, they see a guy that's consistently been, bulking, cutting, being lean. Whenever you decide you're going to be lean, bam, you just show up lean. And then when you're working in the wintertime, you're like, okay, fuck it. And they be like, okay, shit. And then you show up lean again. People say, man, how do you do this shit? It looks like you know what you're doing. Well, when we talk about women, why would I look at anybody else besides pimps? I don't like the result that nobody else has. The result I want with women, pimps have it. Here's a woman who is willing to contribute her money to the process of your progress. Here's a woman who understands there are going to be other women, and instead of getting her feelings about it, she competes with those women to be the number one because she knows she's never going to be the only one. Why would I not listen to those guys? And another thing about those guys, if a broad want to lead them, they don't call her back, they help her pack because they know she's replaceable. And that's just the reality, dog. I have patterned myself like that with women forever. As long as I can remember, dog. I don't care if she comes. I don't care if she goes. Like, there is no woman, bro. If she's gone, she's just gone. And I don't even have to have another woman to replace her. Now, the square world part is I'm always doing some constructive shit that contributes to my purpose. So when a woman is gone, I already should have been spending that time doing some other shit. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is, dog. Men don't understand that when it comes to value, the best man has triple the value of the best woman. Mm-hmm. Easy. Like this video on your way out if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. Make sure your notifications are on so you can be alerted to when I upload some more of this Prism of the Ism. And as always, Alpha's up, Beta's down. Peace.